Hello, everybody. We're back doing some deck techs.
Another Pioneer list.
Yep, a deck tech.
A deck tech.
In this case. So, this deck is called Rakdos Kidnap. And I'm really excited about it. It does something
It's all about kidnapping.
Yeah. Well, you ruined it. That was... I mean, it's in the name. But
then the kid will wake up in the end.
True. Yeah, so it's sort of a theme deck. It's based around taking your opponent's creatures and then eating them or trafficking them or throwing them at your opponent. You know, there's all sorts of
using
options.
them as sacrifices to summon Satan.
Yeah, literally. So many options. So the reason why this deck is possible is because for some reason, a few sets in a row, they've decided, you know what, let's print some really cheap steal your creature cards. Remember back in the day when these used to be like 3 mana with no other effects, no upside?
I'm just going to take this.
Yeah, for a turn, just like sorcery speed. Now there's a 1-drop that does that, a 2-drop that does that, and a 3-drop that does that, and then lets you cast one of the 2s or the 1s to take another thing.
Or just the oven
just
to
an
cook
oven.
the creature in
Exactly.
afterwards.
Or just Thud. I'll just steal your thing and then Thud you. Like, so many options. But, yeah, so... Claim the Firstborn, cost 1. Its downside is that the creature has to cost 3 or less. Which is pretty... much everything.
Yeah, converted mana costs 2 to 4, so you cover most of your bases.
Yeah.
In terms of good creatures.
Exactly. And then for when that doesn't make the cut, you have Wrangle, so that gets power 4 or less. So that's a reasonable amount of things. Less, actually, than Claim the Firstborn,
Yes.
funny enough. And then you have Kari's Expertise, which can also yoink a vehicle. Why not?
Yeah.
Probably don't want to, but you can.
Sometimes you just want to steal a car.
But it also has the upside of letting you cast a 2-drop for free after you've cast this 3-drop. So
Yeah, 2 or 1. 2 or less.
2 or less. So it's pretty sweet. So those are the thievery angle of this deck. Then we have some sacrifice outlets. This is probably the most important one, but I'll get to that later. So we got the big boy here, Demon of Catastrophes. Honestly, I wanted an excuse to play this card because
it was a really cheap promo.
yeah, and it's full art and it's gorgeous, and it matches these paint seers that we already had. But yeah, it's a 6/6 for 4 flying trample, and as an additional cost to cast it, you have to sacrifice a creature. Which, if you just take your opponent's,
Yeah, it's not going to be yours.
then that's fine. No actual downside. A little expensive to do all of that in one turn, but it's
You have things like the
doable.
spring-like drum,
Yeah.
so you can just use that creature as mana.
And Pioneer is a format where a lot of people have mana dorks. So if
Yeah.
you take one of those, it's mana neutral. At least. Something. Yeah, then we have flings. Realistically, I think this should probably be 3 Thuds, but we had these promo flings.
Yes.
And instant speed,
fancy.
sorcery speed, doesn't really make a huge difference, but it, I guess lets us like toss a demon in response to a removal spell or something. Yeah, and then the most important use for fling, obviously, is you take your opponent's creature, attack them with it, and then throw it at them.
Yeah. Yeah, you can have this back.
Yeah, so it's like a lose-lose-lose, really. You just toss the corpse. Thud, same thing, but it costs 1 and it's a sorcery. Yeah, so then we have another element of this deck, which is the inspired sort of tap, untap, it's all the same stuff. So we have Springleaf Drum, which, as you said before, if we steal one of our opponent's creatures, we can always use it just for mana if we need to. Absolutely need to. It can let us use these Cauldron Familiars when we're not attacking with them, which is pretty often that you're not, because it's a 1/1. And yeah, it has the ability to tap, untap creatures. So, Night Market Lookout, you get a little bonus out of that. You get to drain them for 1 each time you do it. Pain Seer, same thing, except you don't get the effect until he untaps. So, yeah, when he's basically a Dark Confidant. When he untaps, you reveal the top card to your library, lose life equal to its mana cost, put it in your hand. So it's not even really drawing a card. But with Springleaf Drum and some of these other tap effects, you can pretty much reasonably...
Yeah, without having to
go up.
attack, you can
Yeah.
tap them. Also the cute interaction
Yes.
of you can use Springleaf Drum, like Pain Seer, make a red with Springleaf
Yep.
Drum, claim him claim him as a firstborn, and then that untaps him with the effect.
Which gets you a card. So if your opponent's not playing a creature deck, these aren't all dead. You can use them on your own creatures. Why not?
Why not?
So all of them can hit Pain Seer, which is nice. So if you just want to draw a bunch of cards, that's a good way to do it.
It's cycling in a way.
Yeah, more or less. Plus, I mean, full art.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. So then at the top we have Cauldron Familiar, Witch's Oven. If you're not familiar with this, Witch's Oven, you can tap, sacrifice a creature, create a food token. If its power was greater than 4, you get 2 food tokens, which sometimes is relevant. And then you have Cauldron Familiar. When he enters the battlefield, you drain your opponent for 1, and then you can sacrifice a food to return him from the graveyard to the battlefield. So
you cook the cat, and then you use that cooked cat to lure another cat in, which you then cook.
It's pretty sick when you think about it, but so Witch's Oven, very good in this deck because it's like your primary way of getting rid of the creature you took from your opponent.
You steal their creature, you make their creature attack them, and then you cook them up and eat them.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I don't know. That just sounds like a Saturday to me. The other cool thing you can do with Cauldron Familiar Witch's Oven, other than slowly kill your opponent, and I mean slowly, by looping that every turn, you can block your opponent's biggest thing with Cauldron Familiar, and then sack it in response, which turns off big lifelink creatures, which is very relevant in a lot of cases because you're trying to slowly kill your opponent. If they're gaining 10 life a turn, they're gonna erase you. So it lets you turn off that. It lets you just block a giant thing and then sack it in response, just to have the blocker so you don't take the damage. Pretty absurd, really.
Yeah, basically it's like have trample or multiple giant threats.
Yeah, it's pretty nutty. And so another reason, like Cauldron Familiar is a 1/1, so you're probably not often attacking your opponent with it, so you can use it for Springleaf Drum or what have you. So that's the spells. Then we go to lands. We actually have, this is probably too many, but I don't care. We have 8 copies of a land that lets you tap an untap creature you control to add a mana of any color, or it taps for colorless itself. Which, if you somehow need the mana, you can take your opponent's thing and then use it for that purpose. But most commonly you're using it with these.
With the inspired creatures again.
So a lot of copies of that. Then we have 4 Blood Crypts, 4 Dragon Skull Summits, 3 Mountains, and then we have 2 Urborgs, which make all of these other lands significantly better.
Helps just make these into actual lands.
So that is the deck. I am super excited to try this, and for you guys to see it, because it's a lot of fun.
Boy!